Hey, it's Lisa Leslie. How did I get here? I prepared for every game and for the years after.
Invest in your future with SPY, the original S&P 500 ETF from State Street, the official ETF partner of the WNBA. Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Visit statestreet.com/IM for prospectus containing this and other information. Read it carefully. SPY is subject to risks similar to those of stocks. All ETFs are subject to risk, including possible loss of principal. Alps Distributors, Inc. Distributor.
Clorox Toilet Wand, it's all in one. Clorox Toilet Wand, it's all in one.
Hey, what does all in one mean?
The caddy, the wand, the preloaded pad. There's a cleaner in there, inside the pad.
So Clorox Toilet Wand is all I need to clean a toilet?
You don't need a bottle of solution to get into this toilet revolution. Clorox, clean feels good.
Use as directed.
And away we go, episode 1217 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, December 12th, 2025. It is the day before my birthday. Happy birthday to me. On Saturday, December 13th, turn 46. I am beginning my age 46 season. 46, the age of Bill Clinton when he won the 1992 presidential election. I am not running for president, at least not yet, but I'll do my best to have a good age 46 season. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Coming up on the show, in-depth preview of one of the worst games in Washington Commanders franchise history in terms of the combined records. The 3-10 Washington Commanders at the 2-11 New York Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1 in Week 15 of the NFL's 2025 regular season. Combined record of 5-21. Not good, but the game will be played. Next segment, a breakdown of the Commanders' latest injury report for the game and discussion of comments from offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury on the lack of practice time for the team's true offense this season due to all of the injuries, and on his play calling in the 31-0 loss at the Minnesota Vikings this past Sunday afternoon. The following segment, a deep dive on the Giants with one of the premier authorities on the team, Giants insider Paul Dottino of WFAN Radio in New York. Paul has covered the Giants since July 1983. He's going to give us great perspective on the change for the Giants that has happened this season, the change that still could happen, how the Giants feel about quarterback Jaxson Dart, why their defense has been so bad, and much more. The segment after that, my rhyming keys for the Commanders in this game at the Giants to do some good things but lose. Yes, rhyming keys for the Commanders in the game at the Giants to do some good things but lose, as we are in the midst of Operation Lose Out 2.0. And I'll give you my prediction for the game, a big game in terms of positioning for the 2026 NFL Draft. The Commanders are in possession of the number 6 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Giants are in possession of the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Also on the show, college football, a Goldilocks preview and pick for Navy versus Army at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore on Saturday afternoon at 3. And on the show, we'll talk Washington Capitals and Virginia Tech basketball. The Caps, they on Thursday night suffered a 3-2 shootout loss to the Carolina Hurricanes at Capital One Arena in a battle of the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. The Hokies, they on Thursday night routed Western Carolina 96-74 at Castle Coliseum in Blacksburg, Virginia. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback on the Commanders, especially Operation Lose Out 2.0 from Mike on X. Writes Mike, the mission is clear. Lose to the 2-11 Giants. Thank you for that, Mike. Well, as the final line in the theme song says, time to lose out. From Teddy E on X. Writes Teddy, Yo Galdi, the Olo theme song is hilarious yet catchy. I'm with it at this point. Hashtag Operation Lose Out. Thank you for that, Teddy. Welcome aboard. Email from Rick Proctor. Writes Rick, Al, trust all is well. I just can't help myself. I listened to all the grand poobahs of Redskins radio, play Jaden, and all the blah, blah, blah. Well, I was one of those poobahs. I totally disagreed strongly. Operation Lose Out was the obvious route to go. We are both Oriole fans. He has a Jorge Mateo type injury and needs surgery. They don't call me Dr. Proctor for nothing. Go get the surgery, get a head start on recovery, and continue with the obvious Operation Lose Out. These grand poobahs, these know-it-alls, they know nothing. In the theme of Casablanca, play it again, Al. Play it again. Lose out, bandwagon, on the road to a top 5 pick. Thank you for the email, Rick. Email from Rob in Houston, Texas. Subject, the problem with Operation Lose Out. Writes Rob, Al, the problem with Operation Lose Out is that the decisions about who will get drafted with our shiny new high draft picks are the same people who built this joke of a roster, need a total roster overhaul just 2 seasons after the last roster overhaul. Why should any fan trust draft picks to these guys regardless of how high the picks are? Thank you for the email, Rob. Fair question. So I would say this about Adam Peters over his 2 years as Commanders GM, and this to me is a funny thing. He in free agency and trades has done well. The irony is that the thing that he, at least as things stand now, has not done well in is the thing that he was especially known for, the NFL draft. Now, how a GM has done at drafting is an evolving thing, an evolving organism, right? Perceptions of draft picks can change over time. So maybe, hopefully, a year from now, we have a more favorable view of Adam Peters drafting as Commanders GM. But yeah, right now the results are underwhelming. And all that you can do is hope that those results get better. But whatever the case with his drafting, that to me is not a reason to not be on board with Operation Lose Out 2.0. Wins for the Commanders at this point in this regular season are borderline meaningless and actually could do more harm than good to the team in the bigger picture. And so, as the final line in the theme song says, time to lose out.
Operation Lose Out. Yeah, we're running it back. Did it once for JD5. Now we're back on track. Every Sunday feels like deja vu. Dropping L's on purpose. What else we gonna do? Take the snap, take the fall. Let the future make the call. Stack the picks, trust the route. It's version 2.0. Time to lose out.
Exactly. Time to lose out. Cash App. It is the best way to make sure that your financial transactions are safe. You this holiday season can stay one step ahead of scams and keep your money secure with Cash App. Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps detect and alert you for unusual card activity should someone gain access to your card so you can act fast if something seems off. You also can lock or unlock your Cash App card instantly right in the app for extra control and peace of mind. And if you're about to send money to someone for a deal that's too good to be true, and Cash App flags the deal as a potential scam, Cash App will warn you before you send the money. Cash App is here for you, and for a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use Cash App's exclusive code to earn some additional cash for real. Just download Cash App. Use the exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
Hey, it's Lisa Leslie. How did I get here? I prepared for every game and for the years after.
Invest in your future with SPY, the original S&P 500 ETF from State Street, the official ETF partner of the WNBA. Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Visit statestreet.com/IM for prospectus containing this and other information. Read it carefully. SPY is subject to risks similar to those of stocks. All ETFs are subject to risk, including possible loss of principal. Alps Distributors, Inc. Distributor.
I'm a high-note hitting songbird, but I'm also a bird-watching backpacker.
Oh, wood thrush, 3 o'clock.
Walmart has a wellness side too, with tons of things I need to feel good, from electrolytes to help keep me hydrated to soothing cough drops for after every show.
Oh, man. How about waterproof boots? Size 10?
They've got 500 million things online, on the app, and in store.
Really? Who knew? Okay, was that you or the birds?
Check out the wellness side of Walmart today.
Hey, if you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review can be just a sentence or two, but the reviews help out the podcast a lot. Thank you for doing them. So here's the crazy stat. If the Washington Commanders win at the New York Giants this Sunday afternoon, Washington will have a 2-game sweep of the Giants in each of 2 consecutive regular seasons for the first time since the 1982 and 1983 regular seasons. A long time ago. 3-10 Commanders at the 2-11 Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1 in Week 15 of the NFL's 2025 regular season. 4 Commanders offensive players were on the team's injury report for Thursday afternoon's practice. Quarterback Jaden Daniels, he on Thursday afternoon was a limited participant in practice for a second consecutive day, so he is practicing some, even though he's not playing in the game due to his ailing left elbow. Running back Chris Rodriguez Jr., he on Thursday afternoon was a limited participant in practice. This off on Wednesday afternoon, not practicing. He's dealing with a groin injury. Receiver Noah Brown, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice for a second consecutive day, but he has been on the injury reports for this week due to his groin and knee issues. And offensive tackle George Fant, he on Thursday afternoon was a full participant in practice for a second consecutive day, but he has been on the injury reports for this week due to a knee problem. 3 Commanders defensive players were on the team's injury report for Thursday afternoon's practice. Linebacker Bobby Wagner, he on Thursday afternoon did not practice for a second consecutive day. He's dealing with a knee issue. Cornerback Jonathan Jones, he on Thursday afternoon did not practice for a second consecutive day. He's dealing with a rib problem. And edge defender Drake Jackson, he on Thursday afternoon was a limited participant in practice. This off on Wednesday afternoon, not practicing. He's dealing with knee and groin ailments. Commanders offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury, he late Thursday morning did a pre-practice press conference. The best stuff from Kingsbury during the presser was about what has been the number one theme for Kingsbury at his press conferences this season, lack of practice time for the team's true offense this season due to all of the injuries. So Kingsbury has talked about this time and again, not in a whining or complaining way, but in a matter-of-fact way. And this issue was front and center on Thursday morning. This was Kingsbury on Thursday morning on Jaden Daniels being set to be out for a 7th time in 14 games for the Commanders in this regular season. And then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Kingsbury. And then you'll hear an exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Kingsbury.
You know, been a tough season on him. There's no doubt. That's football. It's unfortunate that's happened. But, offensively, we've got to keep building and try to get better. Sunday wasn't acceptable on any level, coaching or playing. And so that's our main focus now this week is making some massive improvements before Sunday.
I don't know if there are any designed runs for him Sunday. I don't remember any, but did his elbow play into that? And I look at the goal line area too, like you often have used those out. Did that play into how you call the game at all?
Yeah, we were going to be smart in some areas and try to limit any exposure if we could. But unfortunately, part of the game and that ended up happening.
I know he only had 7 games, but are you able to just assess kind of what you thought of his play overall in that time? I mean, has he done a lot of the things you want? Yeah,
I would just say offensively, we, with him, really from the spring on through training camp, just we were never able to get into a rhythm with everybody. Enough practices strung together, enough games strung together, just practicing consistently. It just wasn't able to happen. And so I think it's hard to really assess what that looked like based on just we never had consistent practice or rhythm or anything of that nature, whether he was banged up or, other guys were out.
Yeah, that right there is Kliff Kingsbury telling us that this has been a lost season for Jayden Daniels, at least so far. When the offensive coordinator can't offer any true evaluation of the QB1 because he and key teammates have missed so much time due to injury, that's a lost season. Interesting, too, that Kingsbury essentially admitted that he and the 31-0 loss at the Minnesota Vikings this past Sunday afternoon purposely did not call any design runs or option runs for Jayden Daniels in order to keep him healthy. More on this issue of lack of practice time for the Commanders' true offense this season due to all of the injuries. We on Thursday morning had this exchange between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Kliff Kingsbury, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Kingsbury.
Kliff, getting back to the practices, for a veteran group, when you have a lot of guys coming back, what is the benefit of OTAs going into camp and just kind of getting a cadence and a rhythm with that group together?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm from the quarterback perspective, offensive-minded perspective, you know, as many of those on-the-field reps, the timing with receivers, the cadences with the O-line, the mesh points for the running backs, as much as that as you can get prior to your first game, and then as much as you can get in season, I think is paramount to playing good football and good offensive football. And I thought, you know, last year we were able to stay healthy into some positions, and especially at Jayden, just day after day after day, working at his craft, practicing, getting better, and we just weren't able to have the consistency or the amount of practice reps that we would have liked.
Talking about not being able to get all the practice time that you wanted, how has that affected your ability to call plays in-game in kind of the way that you want to, and if you felt kind of limited in what you can do because you haven't had that time on the field?
Yeah, you know, it's been a unique year in that we've been trying to win games differently than we did last year, trying to do different things, possess the ball, you know, run the football, and play to our strengths. And last year we had some other stuff going on, and we were able to play a little bit more wide open. So I think more than anything, it's just availability of players and just trying to maximize who we are to really just win the game. The recipe we felt was different this year to try and win the game, and so that's how we played.
Well, the Commanders in this game at the Giants have a chance to have a good offensive game. The Giants' defense is not good. More on that in the upcoming segments. But, of course, the Commanders need to take advantage of a bad Giants defense and not falter, as the Commanders did on their first offensive drive in the loss at the Vikings. Chris Rodriguez on that drive had 4 carries for 31 yards, giving the Commanders a 2nd and goal at the 2. But Kliff Kingsbury then called 3 consecutive passing plays, each of which resulted in an incompletion. Although Jayden Daniels on the first of the plays had offensive tackle Brandon Coleman open but did not throw to him, and the last of the plays resulted in a drop by receiver Deebo Samuel Sr. There were plays to be made. They were not made. We on Thursday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider Tom Schad of the Washington Post and Kliff Kingsbury.
It's obviously easy to second-guess play calls when things don't work out, but a critical moment in that Minnesota game was the first drive, and you called 3 pass plays there from the 1 or the 2. What was your thought process there, and has your thinking changed, I guess, as you've looked back at that particular sequence post-game?
Yeah, I mean, it always does. You know, there's 30 plays in that game. I wish I'd called something differently, and wish one of those plays would have worked, but they didn't, unfortunately. So that's, I think, the nature of a play caller. But, you know, there weren't a lot of great play calls in that game, and that's, like I said, that's all me, and I got to get better.
And good for Kliff Kingsbury for doing what a coach should do, putting the blame on himself. Here is an outstanding book for you if you're a Washington fan, or for a Washington fan who you care about this holiday season. RFK All Access by Scott Cunningham, who served as a photographer for NFL properties for years and who photographed the Redskins extensively during their glory days in the 1980s and early 1990s. Scott, via RFK All Access, has put together a compilation of his best Redskins photos, many of which are behind-the-scenes photos. Joe Gibbs, Jack Kent Cook, Richie Pettibone, the Hogs, the Posse, Sonny Sam and Frank, all and so many more are featured in this book, which is 392 pages of glorious Skins history, 5 pounds of Redskins gold. If you are a serious Washington fan. If you are a Skins historian, this book is a must-have. Makes for a terrific addition to any Skins-themed man cave. Also makes for a great gift. I have the book. It is sensational. Heck, this is a book that has been endorsed by Joe Gibbs himself. Quote, "This is a great book filled with great memories," end quote. Also, the book now is available in ebook form, and the book now is available for an all-time low price. Take advantage of this special holiday season sale. RFK All Access. You can get the book by visiting rfkallaccess.com. And when you order the book, mention in the notes section that Al Galdi sent you. Doing that helps out this podcast a lot. That's rfkallaccess.com. rfkallaccess.com. And mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Washington Redskins versus the New York Giants. What do you think about when you hear that phrase? The Washington Redskins versus the New York Giants. So many big games between these two teams in the 1980s and early 1990s, with Joe Gibbs as Skins head coach and Bill Parcells as Giants head coach. This game this Sunday afternoon does not speak to that tradition. Week 15 of the NFL's 2025 regular season gives us the 3-10 Washington Commanders at the 2-11 New York Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1. The Commanders have lost 8 consecutive games. The Giants have lost 7 consecutive games. Are coming off a bye week, but this has been some season for the Giants. Of course, it's been some season for our team, but this has been some season for the Giants. They on November 12th announced having fired head coach Brian Dable and having promoted assistant head coach offensive coordinator Mike Kafka to interim head coach. The Giants on November 24th announced having fired defensive coordinator Shane Bowen and having promoted outside linebackers coach Charlie Bullen to interim defensive coordinator. The Giants also have seen 2 key skill position players suffer devastating season-ending injuries. The receiver Malik Neighbors, who the Giants took with the number 6 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft out of LSU, for which he was Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels' number 1 receiver. Neighbors in the Giants' 21-18 home win over the Los Angeles Chargers on September 28th suffered a torn right ACL. And running back Cam Scadaboo, who the Giants took in the 4th round of the 2025 NFL Draft out of Arizona State, he and the Giants' 38-20 loss at the Philadelphia Eagles on October 26th suffered a badly injured lower right leg. I am very pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast longtime Giants insider Paul Dottino of WFAN Radio in New York, MSG Networks Television in New York, WWOR-TV My9 in New York, and Giants.com. He has covered the Giants since July 1983. You can follow Paul on X at GiantsWFAN. Paul, nice to talk to you again. What must Joe Gibbs and Bill Parcells be thinking with this game? How are you?
I'm doing okay. Hope all is well. You know, it's funny, before the season, I had made the rounds doing some talk shows, obviously a couple of them in Washington as well. And I had felt that the Commanders were a fraud 12-win team last year and thought they'd struggle to make 500. I thought the Giants would be a much improved team and would be just around 500. Really, that Philly would run away with the division, Dallas would be in the basement, and these two teams would probably fight for a non-playoff 8-win season. I guess I overshot for both of them, didn't I?
Yeah, each team is having a nightmare of a season. We, with the Giants this season, have had a head coaching change and a defensive coordinator change. This is season number 4 for Joe Schoen as Giants general manager. Might we have a GM change for the Giants, or do you think that Schoen is safe?
I don't know that word safe can apply with 4 games left in the regular season. I do think that as I sit here right now, there's more logic on the side of Joe Schoen staying than leaving. But I don't know that anybody could cement anything in concrete as it sits here today. And the reason is because Giants management has always been following the mantra of the late Wellington Mara, who owned the team for so many decades. He always said, you don't make any of these kinds of decisions while the season is still going on, because emotions still play too much of a part in them, and they'll impact you in more than off in negative ways. So he says you have to wait till the end of the season is over, give it 24 hours or so to kind of settle down, and then your mind can be clear and you can make the most logical decision possible. Now, the organization has always tried to follow that. They haven't always done it. There have been exceptions, as we know. For example, this year, Brian Daboll was let go in the middle of the season. So there are exceptions, but the fact that Joe Schoen is still here would make one to believe that they will wait until after the season to truly sort things out. And I would suspect, unless something happens in the next month, that scale will probably balance in his favor.
Were you surprised that the Giants fired Brian Daboll in season?
Again, because of the way the Giants usually do business, I was. I will say it's clear that things were going in the wrong direction, and it had kind of been building up over the course of time. Yeah, I'm going to say I was surprised. I would not have been surprised if he didn't come back for 2026. But pulling the plug at that particular moment, yes, I would say that the timing was a surprise.
Do you think Mike Kafka is a legitimate candidate to be the head coach beyond this season, or do you expect a different head coach for 2026?
I firmly believed that at the time they made the decision, he was in an audition mode. Now, the Giants are 0-3 since that time. I happen to be a big fan of Mike Kafka as a person and as a football coach, but an 0-3 start is not going to help his cause. I don't see how it can. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a qualified individual who'll get consideration. But, I mean, the weights on his side of that seesaw certainly aren't as strong as they were 3 weeks ago.
The Giants this past March signed unrestricted free agent quarterbacks Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. The Giants in the 2025 NFL Draft traded up to take Ole Miss quarterback Jaxson Dart with the number 25 overall pick. Wilson did not last long as the Giants QB1. Dart has dealt with concussion problems, but he has done well. Dart for this regular season through Week 14 is number 7 out of 31 qualified NFL quarterbacks in ESPN's total QBR. Now, the Giants right now have the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Whatever that Giants first-round pick in the draft ends up being, do you think that they'll be thinking quarterback, or are they moving forward with Dart as their QB1?
Oh, there's no question Jaxson Dart is the guy. I mean, look, I've always been one who favors sitting your rookie quarterback in his first season. However, he was thrust into the role and has performed even better than anyone would have thought. And I mean, his arrow is pointing so far up. Unless you're going to come back with me, I'm sure the follow-up is, what about the injury situation and his ability to run? And obviously, those two things don't mesh very well. I get that. I do think that, he will somehow navigate that situation better than a lot of people are expecting, and he'll be the long-term guy. So, no, I think Jameis Winston, who has 2 years on his deal, this is only year 1. He comes back next year as a $4 million 2026 very inexpensive veteran backup. I think that's the way the Giants are going to go.
What have you especially liked about Jaxson Dart?
He's incredibly mature for his age in terms of his presence, in terms of his work habits, his vision on the field. I mean, the stubbornness about him wanting to run and becoming a little too reckless, that's something that's been inherent in him, as he has told everybody ever since he picked up a football. So that is the little bit of immaturity that he still has as a young 20-something-year-old. That's something he does have to obviously temper down, and he does have to grow out of and move past. Other than that one small item, that little sense of entitlement that I'm going to run when I want to run, he's far beyond his years. It's truly ridiculous at how poised and how much he seems to have a grasp on everything else that it means to be a professional football player and a quarterback in New York, which is, of course, the largest market in the world. I'm truly, truly amazed and surprised at how much he's got a grasp on all of those other things, which is why this one thing about running the football, the stubbornness over that is certainly incongruent with the rest of his personality.
We're talking with Giants insider Paul Dottino of WFAN Radio in New York. He has covered the Giants since July 1983. We have the Commanders at the Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1. The Giants in recent years have had big-time offensive line problems, especially in terms of injury, but the line this season seems to be doing fairly well. Where are we with the Giants' offensive line?
Well, it's at the very least, and I mean at the very least, it's an average offensive line from being down at the bottom of the basement. I mean, it's for most of the past decade, it has been downright horrible. I mean, let's just call it exactly what it's been. It's been horrible. They were decent in 2022, and no coincidence, they made the playoffs that year, didn't they? It's really very simple. And this year's Giants offensive line has performed at the very least to the middle of the NFL, if not even a tad above average. And if you look at all of their offensive metrics, except for their percentage of touchdowns in the red zone, their offensive metrics prove that out. And it's really not even open for debate. They are at the least, an average offensive line. Now, on occasion, there's been some inconsistencies there, especially in the run blocking, which is why, they're no higher than that. To be a top 10 offensive line, you got to be more consistent. So they haven't finished the product yet, but they've climbed at least 2 flights of stairs to get out of the basement.
We went into this regular season talking up the Giants' defensive line. Interior defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence, edge defenders Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter, who the Giants took with the number 3 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft out of Penn State. And yet, the Giants for this regular season through Week 14 were number 29 out of 32 NFL teams in total defense per DVOA. Why hasn't this Giants defense been better?
Well, first of all, I think the one thing that you can say unequivocally is that the only 2 players on this defense who have played to their max this season would be Brian Burns, and what he's done this year. Everybody does. I believe he's still number 2 in the NFL in sacks as we sit here this morning. And Cordell Flott, the corner formerly LSU, who's, in his 4th year has really blossomed into a terrific player. Other than those 2 guys, there is nobody else on this starting defensive unit. And if you want to include Phillips as the nickel, that's 12 starters. None of the other 9, okay, or again, 10 if you will, have played to their max. In fact, you could make an argument that maybe none of them have even played to just the standard of the back of their football card. All of them have underachieved outside of Flott and Burns. Now, I've always been of the opinion that when that many players on a unit are playing substandard or subpar, or use whatever word you'd like to use, we know that they are so much more talented than that, and they're not playing nearly as well as they are supposed to or are expected to. That becomes a bigger problem than just players who aren't very good. No, if 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 players aren't very good and you overestimated them, then that will show. But when over 80% of your defense is underachieving, that says something about the scheme. It says something about your coordinator. It says something about your overall philosophy of how they're being deployed. And obviously, we now know that, over the last 2 weeks, defensive coordinator Shane Bowen was also relieved of his duties.
Abdul Carter over 13 games in this regular season, 1.5 sacks, overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 66.8, a little above average. What's going on with him?
Well, he's a player who has a lot more to learn. Again, he fits into that rookie, pot of guys that have to mature and that have to figure out exactly what it is to excel at this level of football. It's one thing to do it at the NCAA level, even at a power conference, when, you could just go out there and your pure raw talent without a lot of extra work is going to get things done. Abdul Carter obviously has to add more power quotient to his game because he's not as strong as he needs to be relative to the tackles and other players he's going against in the NFL. He was strong enough to dominate, at Penn State, but this is not Penn State. This is the New York Giants, and these are 31 other NFL teams. And he has to get a lot stronger than what he has shown as a rookie. The other thing he needs to do is add a lot more tools to his toolbox. In the NFL, every great sack artist that I've covered, Lawrence Taylor, Michael Strahan, JPP, OCU Manura, Justin Tuck, I've been around a ton of them. They always said the one thing that you've got to be able to do is set guys up. We talk about all the time at how offenses will set people up. They'll call plays because they want to get back to something later on in the game. Few people understand that pass rushers set guys up too. And if you've got one or two moves, that's really nice, and that'll get you by for a bit. But in the NFL, when these tackles have been playing in the league 8, 10, 12 years, you need to be able to go to your fifth and sixth move. And you need to be able to show them a combination in the first quarter, and in the second quarter, when it's a 3rd and 12, all of a sudden you bring out a different combination because you lulled them to sleep thinking you're going to use A and B, but instead you used A and E. So he's got to learn a wider repertoire of moves, of counters in particular, so that he can become the guy he is supposed to be, because the talent is certainly there.
A macro question. This is the Giants' 10th regular season with at least 10 losses in 12 years. That is remarkable. The mighty Giants, Big Blue, 10 double-digit loss regular seasons in 12 years. If you had to explain why this has happened, what would that explanation be?
I tell people all the time, you can't encapsulate anything about pro football in just one sentence or statement. Football is a spider web, where every single factor that you want to talk about is a strand in the spider web, and then it feathers out and touches many other strands. And for that reason, it's not real simple to say either success or even failure. It just doesn't work that way. It is a spider web. But if you want to go to some of the basic strands, there's no doubt that over the last decade, they have not drafted nearly as well as they needed to. That's where it always starts. Your best teams usually have a whole chunk of draft choices at the core of their roster. The Giants, no, that's really not been the case for most of the past decade. So that's one huge reason. Another reason is for some strange reason, they have been horribly hit by injuries more than most, consistently over the last decade. Even though they've had multiple strength and conditioning coaches, their injury track record over those last 12 years has got to be one of the worst 3 in the NFL. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Someone's going to have to look that up. I don't have those numbers, but I'm pretty sure that's going to wind up being the case if you were to do the research. And then third thing, I'm sorry, but I also believe that the inconsistency of coaches, I know you have to find the right one in order to stick with a guy. But when you constantly turn over coaches as often as you do, that's also going to be a factor in a downward spiral. I've never seen an organization over the course of a decade go through this many coaches and have success. That's not the way it works. So, I'll give you those 3 things as 3 of the top items, but there are still certainly other items that have to be put on that list as well.
All right. Longtime Giants insider Paul Dottino of WFAN Radio in New York. Paul, thanks. All the best.
All right. Great to be with you. Enjoy the holidays.
All right, same to you. And if you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The NACE Law Group features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients, led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979. The NACE Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The NACE Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The NACE Law Group can help you and your family make difficult decisions. The NACE Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. On last Friday's show, episode 1212, in doing rhyming keys for the Washington Commanders game at the Minnesota Vikings, said that I, despite being in the midst of Operation Loseout 2.0, did not want to do rhyming keys for a Commanders loss for each of the team's remaining 5 games in this 2025 NFL regular season. I said that I didn't want to spend 5 weeks coming up with keys for losses. I said that I might do rhyming keys for a Commanders loss once we get to the final game or two, but for now, what I was going to do was rhyming keys for the Commanders in terms of things that I wanted to see from the team. You know, certain players playing better, certain aspects of the team being better, etc. In other words, I tried to be a nice guy. I tried to be classy. I tried not to be too obnoxious with Operation Loseout 2.0. And how did the Commanders reward that behavior? They lost at the Vikings 31-0. Last Sunday afternoon in one of the most humiliating losses in recent Washington history. And so I am done being a nice guy with Operation Loseout 2.0. No more Mr. Nice Guy. We have the 3-10 Commanders at the 2-11 New York Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1, especially now with the Commanders' QB1 Jaden Daniels out for at least another game, and especially with how crucial a Commanders loss in this game would be in terms of positioning for the 2026 NFL Draft. I present to you rhyming keys for the Commanders to do some good things, but lose. A loss would be huge. The Commanders are in possession of the number 6 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Giants are in possession of the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. A bunch of teams are bunched in tight, but the Commanders are 1 game out from having the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. And so, my friends, it is that time, the time to rhyme. Rhyming keys for the Commanders in their game at the Giants to do some good things, but lose. That is a wordy title, but hey, that's what we have. These rhymes, they are not meant to be good, and they are not good. They are quite bad. They are only meant to make a few points. In fact, we have a saying for this segment, indeed a rhyme for the segment. The saying is counterintuitive, but trust me, the saying is true. The worse the rhyme, the better the time. And so here we go. Hardcore analysis combined with scheduled fun. Rhyming keys for the Commanders in their game at the Giants to do some good things, but lose, as we are in the midst of Operation Loseout 2.0. Rhyming key number 1, this is for the Commanders defense. Allow Jaxson Dart to get off to a good start. The Giants' QB1, rookie Jaxson Dart, has been impressive. He, for this regular season, through Week 14, was number 12 out of 31 qualified NFL quarterbacks in expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. But even if he wasn't doing well, he still would have a chance to feast on the Commanders' defense, which, in the loss at the Vikings, got carved up by a quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, who had been reeling. I don't know that I've ever seen a Washington defense as bad as this 2025 Commanders defense in terms of performances in first quarters. The Commanders for this regular season have a first quarter point differential of minus 59. A good chunk of that is on the Commanders offense, yes, but the team's defense has more than done its part regarding that differential. See what happened in the loss at the Vikings, a game in which the Commanders lost the first quarter 7-0 as they, on the opening drive of the game, allowed the Vikings to put together a 7-play, 61-yard touchdown drive. And so rhyming key number 1, this for the Commanders defense, allow Jaxson Dart to get off to a good start. Rhyming keys for the Commanders in their game at the Giants to do some good things, but lose. Rhyming key number 2. This is for the Commanders' run defense. Allow Tracy and Singletary to come through in the absence of Scatterboo. The Commanders, in their 21-6 win over the Giants at Northwest Stadium on September 7th, held Giants running backs Tyrone Tracy Jr., Devin Singletary, and Cam Scatterboo to a combined 15 carries for 30 yards. The Commanders' run defense in that game was good, but their run defense has completely fallen off. The Commanders for this regular season through Week 14 are number 26 out of 32 NFL teams in run defense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. Now, Cam Scatterboo is on the reserve/injured list due to a badly injured lower right leg, but Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary are available. Neither guy is having a good season, so this is where we need the Commanders' bad run defense to step down. Not step up, but step down and allow Tracy and Singletary to do some damage. I right now care much more about the Commanders' offense than I do the defense. The defense has been horrendous and is poised to undergo massive change this coming offseason. So when it comes to rhyming keys for the Commanders in their game at the Giants to do some good things but lose, I am focusing on the defense doing the bad things. By the way, the Giants running backs coach is former Redskins running back Ladell Betts. But rhyming key number 2, this for the Commanders run defense, allow Tracy and Singletary to come through in the absence of Scatterboo. Rhyming keys for the Commanders in their game at the Giants to do some good things but lose. Rhyming key number 3, this is for the Commanders offense, and now we get to something positive, or at least something good that I am hoping for. Get going against this defense formerly of Shane Bowen. I told you, these rhymes are not good. The Giants defense, major disappointment, so much so that the Giants on November 24th announced having fired defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. Their interim defensive coordinator is Charlie Bullen. The Giants for this regular season through Week 14 were number 30 out of 32 NFL teams in total defense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. The Commanders, by the way, were number 31, but this game sets up as a bounce-back game for the Commanders offense off its hideous performance in the 31-0 loss at the Vikings. The teams against the Giants in this regular season have combined for 23 touchdown passes versus 5 interceptions. There is opportunity here for the Commanders QB2 Marcus Mariota to have a good game. This Giants defense is not the Vikings defense, which is really good. Also isn't the Denver Broncos defense, which is really good. And the Commanders offense in that game was good, right? The 27-26 overtime loss to the Broncos at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on November 30th. This will be Marcus Mariota's 10th game in this regular season, including his 7th start. He and his relief appearances has not done well, but he in his starts has done well. When he has had time to prepare, he has come through. I expect him to be good on Sunday afternoon, and I also expect a good game for the Commanders' rushing offense. The Giants for this regular season through Week 14 are dead last in the NFL in run defense in terms of expected points added per play per RBSDM.com. This Giants defense is really bad. And so rhyming key number 3, this for the Commanders offense, get going against this defense formerly of Shane Bowen. All right, it is prediction time. The consensus line per Action Network for this game as of Thursday afternoon was Commanders plus 2.5. Yes, the Commanders underdogs in a game at a 2-11 team. That's how bad this Commanders season has been. But I am calling for the upset. Yes, The 3-10 Commanders shock the world, win at the 2-11 Giants, and end the 8-game losing streak. Final score, Commanders 30, Giants 21. But of course, a Commanders loss would be huge for Operation Loseout 2.0. Hey, if you are planning a wedding or you know someone who is, check out or have that person check out cateringbyuptown.com. Catering by Uptown delivers not just delicious food of the highest quality, but also a flawless and memorable experience tailored to your special day. Catering by Uptown's team is dedicated to meeting your every need with elegance and precision. And if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can set up your own personal tour of one of Catering by Uptown's premier venues, including outstanding waterfront venues. So also, Catering by Uptown is great for parties, so whether a birthday, an anniversary, a retirement, or a charity gala, Catering by Uptown understands that special events deserve to be celebrated in style. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. Catering by Uptown is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Commanders fans and loyal supporters of this podcast. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, the final FBS regular season game of the 2025 college football season is on Saturday. That game, Navy versus Army at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore on Saturday afternoon at 3. Maybe the greatest rivalry in sports, right? Navy versus Army in football. This will be the 126th all-time football game between Navy and Army. Navy leads the all-time series 63-55-7. The winner of this game will win the Commander-in-Chief's Trophy for the 2025 season. The Commander-in-Chief's Trophy goes each season to the service academy that does the best in football games against the other two service academies, the three service academies being Navy, Army, and Air Force. Navy won the Commander-in-Chief's Trophy for the 2024 season. Navy for this season is 9-2 overall, including 7-1 in the AAC. Army for this season is 6-5 overall, including 4-4 in the AAC. Navy in the Associated Press Top 25 poll that came out this past Sunday morning moved up one spot from number 23 to number 22. Navy is going bowling. Navy versus Cincinnati in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee on Friday afternoon, January 2nd at 4:30. The head coach is Brian Newberry, who's in his third season as Navy head coach, and Jeff Monken, who's in his 12th season as Army head coach. Jeff Monken was an assistant coach for Navy for the 2002 through 2007 seasons. Jeff Monken, the cousin of Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. The consensus line per Action Network for this game as of Thursday afternoon was Navy minus 6.5. Public money is pretty heavily on Navy. The question with this game is, can Navy get enough stops on an Army offense that isn't great but is capable? Navy for this season is number 31 in the FBS in offensive efficiency per ESPN, but is number 107 out of 136 FBS teams in defensive efficiency per ESPN. And Army quarterback Cale Helms can play, but so can Navy quarterback Blake Horvath. Each guy has big rushing numbers this season. Horvath, 1,040 rushing yards, 14 rushing touchdowns, 5.98 yards per carry. Helms, 1,078 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns, 4.08 yards per carry. It is time for a Goldilocks pick. Give me Navy minus 6.5 to help you, as the great Snoop Dogg once said, make money, money.
Make money, money, make money, money, money.
That's right, Snoop. Thank you. Well, the good news is that the Washington Capitals now have a 9-game point streak. The bad news is that the Caps now are 0-4 in shootouts in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season. A 3-2 shootout loss to the Carolina Hurricanes at Capital One Arena on Thursday night in a battle of the top two teams in the Eastern Conference. So the Caps blew a 2-1 third-period lead. They fell to 18-9-4. They and the Hurricanes now are tied atop the Eastern Conference at 40 points. As you may recall, Overall, the Caps lost to the Hurricanes 4-1 in a best-of-7 series in the second round of the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs. So the Caps, though, won at the Hurricanes 4-1 this past November 11th. But the Hurricanes under head coach Rod Brind'Amour play a style of hockey predicated on puck possession, and the Caps on Thursday night got slaughtered in the puck possession battle. They had just 25 shots on goal to the Hurricanes 39, and per natural stat trick had just 39 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Hurricanes 72, including 12 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Hurricanes 17. Now, the Caps starting goaltender Logan Thompson was up to the task. He, again, was very good. He stopped 37 of the 39 shots on goal that he faced. The Caps went 2 for 2 on the penalty kill, 0 for 1 on the power play. Caps top-line right wing Connor McMichael scored an even-strength goal exactly 5 minutes into the second period for his 5th goal in this regular season, but he was dead last on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick, 17.24. The Caps with McMichael on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game had just 5 shot attempts versus allowing 24 shot attempts. The Caps third-line center Nick Dowd, he scored an even-strength goal 11:32 into the third period for his 2nd goal in this regular season. Did commit a second-period cross-checking minor and did get a third-period 5-minute major for fighting. Caps top-line left wing Alex Ovechkin, he had a primary assist and a team-high tying 5 total shot attempts, including a team-high tying 3 shots on goal. Caps defenseman Rasmus Sandin had 2 assists. Good to have defenseman John Carlson back. He returned from a 3-game absence caused by an upper body injury. The Caps' backup goaltender for this game was this guy, Garen Bjorklund. They on Monday afternoon announced having recalled Bjorklund from their AHL affiliate, the Hershey Bears, and announced having lone goaltender Clay Stevenson to Hershey. The Caps' number 2 goaltender Charlie Lindgren is on injured reserve, as are winger Ryan Leonard and center Pierre-Luc Dubois. Regarding Leonard, the Caps on Thursday morning announced that his injury is a shoulder injury and that, quote, his projected recovery time is approximately 3 to 4 weeks, end quote. The Caps' healthy scratches were defenseman Declan Chisholm and Dylan McElrath and forward Bogdan Trineyev. Next up for the Caps is one game this weekend at the Winnipeg Jets, Saturday night at 7.
Hey, it's Lisa Leslie. How did I get here? I prepared for every game and for the years after.
Invest in your future with SPY, the original S&P 500 ETF from State Street, the official ETF partner of the WNBA. Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Visit statestreet.com/IM for prospectus containing this and other information. Read it carefully. SPY is subject to risks similar to those of stocks. All ETFs are subject to risk, including possible loss of principal. Alps Distributors, Inc. Distributor.
The McDonald's Snack Wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch Snack Wrap. Spicy Snack Wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack Wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
And some college basketball. Virginia Tech in the 2025-2026 regular season now is 9-2 overall, a 96-74 win over Western Carolina at Castle Coliseum in Blacksburg, Virginia on Thursday night. Really good shooting from the field by the Hokies. 13 for 27 on threes, 21 for 37 on twos, and the point total of 96 could have been higher as Tech went just 15 for 23 on free throws. Big game for 6'9" true freshman Neoklis Avdilis of Greece. He, in 33 minutes, 17 seconds as a starter, had 30 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists versus 3 turnovers and 2 blocks. He went 4 for 8 on threes, 6 for 9 on twos, and 6 for 8 on free throws. Also, 6'8" West Virginia transfer Amani Hansberry. He, in 32-46 as a starter, had 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists versus 3 turnovers and 4 steals. He went 2 for 3 on threes, 6 for 9 on twos, and 0 for 1 on free throws. The Tech did remain without 6'8" Toby Lowell. He did not play for a 5th consecutive game due to a foot injury. Next up for Virginia Tech, home to Maryland Eastern Shore, Sunday at noon. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1218. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. In-depth reaction to and analysis of their game at the New York Giants this Sunday afternoon at 1. Also on Monday show, I'll discuss Navy football, the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, and college basketball. We have Navy versus Army at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore on Saturday afternoon at 3. The Caps have one game this weekend at the Winnipeg Jets, Saturday night at 7. The Wizards have two games this weekend, home to the Cleveland Cavaliers Friday night at 7 and at the Indiana Pacers Sunday afternoon at 3. And college basketball this weekend includes Maryland, home to number 2 Michigan, Saturday night at 8. Georgetown home to St. Peter's in a game at McDonough Arena on the campus of Georgetown, Saturday afternoon at 2:30. And Virginia Tech home to Maryland Eastern Shore, Sunday at noon. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
Hey, it's Lisa Leslie. How did I get here? I prepared for every game and for the years after.
Invest in your future with SPY, the original S&P 500 ETF from State Street, the official ETF partner of the WNBA. Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Visit statestreet.com/IM for prospectus containing this and other information. Read it carefully. SPY is subject to risks similar to those of stocks. All ETFs are subject to risk, including possible loss of principal. ALPS Distributors, Inc. Distributor.